Stated above, we exist and our existence is limited. Our existence is physical. Every physical thing, whether it is the human body, the planet Earth, the entire galaxy, or the whole universe, is limited. A physical thing, by definition, is composed of parts and is therefore quantifiable. If it is quantifiable, it is not infinite. It has a beginning and an end. It has a beginning and an end both in space and time. A physical thing by definition has dimensions. It must have length, width, and depth, and exist in time. Whatever has length, width, and depth, and exists in time, has measure and is therefore limited. Even space itself is finite. For space to exist, there must be at least 2 points of position. If there are 2 points, the area between them has measure. Being that it has measure, space, by definition, is finite. Of course, the space between 2 points is only one-dimensional space and cannot exist as physical space. For actual physical space to exist, there must be the 3 dimensions of length, width, and depth. In any case, if the totality of the universe would be compressed into a single non-dimensional point which did not possess length, width, or depth, neither space nor time could exist. In addition, that point would not exist within space and time. Time, too, is finite. For time to exist, there must be at least 2 points of sequence. The duration between the 2 points has measure. Being that it has measure, time, by definition, is finite. Obviously, that which is measurable cannot be immeasurable. It has a beginning and an end. Since space and time are limited, everything within space and time is most certainly limited. This means that the universe and everything therein is limited and has a beginning and an end. Now, if space and time are limited and have a beginning and an end, this means that their existence is not intrinsic to them. In and of themselves, they do not have to be. If this is the case with space and time, then certainly this is the case with everything within space and time. We therefore see that the existence of the universe and everything therein is not intrinsic to it. It does not have to be. Now, since space, time, and the universe had a beginning to their existence, this means that prior to it, they did not exist. This being the case, how did they come into being? Certainly, they could not have bring themselves into being, for something that does not exist cannot bring itself or anything else into being. However, as mentioned above, our existence is a self-evident truth and an undeniable axiom, for here we are. Now, if something that does not exist cannot bring itself or anything else into being, this means that a being that does exist must bring everything into being. Otherwise, how does anything exist? However, this being cannot be limited to space and time. Space and time are limited and have a beginning and an end. If they have a beginning, there was a point where they did not exist. If they did not exist, they could not bring themselves into being. If space and time cannot bring themselves into being, then certainly any being that is limited to space and time cannot bring itself or space and time and the universe and everything therein into being. Therefore, we must say that this being is beyond space and time. Furthermore, this being cannot be a limited being with a beginning and an end whose existence is not intrinsic to it. A limited being has a beginning and an end. Since it has a beginning and an end, it does not have to be. Its existence is not intrinsic to it. Since its existence is not intrinsic to it and it has a beginning, this means that before the beginning it did not exist. Something that does not exist cannot bring itself or anything else into being. Therefore, we must say that this being is eternal, infinite, and unlimited. There was no point when this being did not exist, nor will there ever be a point when this being will not exist. The existence of this being is intrinsic and must be. From this we understand that this being is the true being whose existence is intrinsic and independent of any other being. The existence of the universe, however, is not intrinsic to it. It does not have to be, and by itself it cannot be. On the contrary, its existence is an anomaly which must be imposed upon it by this true being whose existence is intrinsic and who is above space and time. As explained above, it is impossible for a limited being to bring itself into existence. Only an unlimited being who is truly infinite and whose existence is intrinsic can bring other beings into being. In other words, every being and every form of existence, aside from this unlimited, pre-existent, intrinsic, and essential being, is a dependent being, rather than an intrinsic one. It depends on the unlimited, essential being for its very existence. Since it cannot exist by itself, it is not a true being. Its natural state so to speak, is not to be. Clearly, everything that exists, except for this unlimited, pre-existent, intrinsic, and essential being, must have its existence imposed upon it, for its existence is not intrinsic to it. On the contrary, its nature, so to speak, is not to be. Furthermore, if the unlimited essential being would stop imposing existence upon creation, it would cease to be and would revert to nothingness. Moreover, since not only space but time would cease to be, it would be as if it never was. This is clearly understood, for as explained, since every limited thing, including all of creation, has a beginning and an end, and its existence is not intrinsic to it, it cannot exist by itself. Furthermore, as explained above, space and time are also limited and do not have intrinsic existence. Their existence must be imposed upon them. Therefore, certainly everything within space and time must be continuously compelled into being, along with space and time. Furthermore, this unlimited being is an absolute singularity whose existence alone is intrinsic and independent. In other words, there can only be one truly unlimited, pre-existent, and essential being who exists intrinsically without beginning or end. It is impossible for two truly unlimited beings to coexist. For if there were more than one, neither of them would truly be unlimited. There would be a point where the existence of the one would stop and the other would begin. Therefore, we must say that this unlimited being is an absolute singularity. In other words, only this singular, unlimited, pre-existent, intrinsic and essential being truly exists in a way that is intrinsic and independent of any other existence. He is alone, for all other beings have no existence except by virtue of his existence. This means that relative to his existence, we have no existence even after being brought into existence, and that the true self-evident axiom of all axioms and foundation of all foundations is this singular unlimited being, for without him nothing at all can exist. To summarize, we have concluded several crucial points. 1. Firstly, that our existence, because it is limited, necessitates the pre-existence of an unlimited being, whose existence is intrinsic. This being is pre-existent and unlimited and has no beginning or end. Secondly, this pre-existent, intrinsic, essential, and unlimited being is absolutely singular and alone. Thirdly, any existence aside from this singular, unlimited being does have a beginning and an end. Therefore, the existence of anything besides this singular, unlimited being is not intrinsic to it. It does not have to be, and in and of itself, it cannot be. Therefore, its existence must be imposed upon it by this singular, pre-existent, intrinsic, and unlimited being, upon whose existence it is dependent for its very existence. 4. This singular, unlimited being is above space and time, which are limited. 5. But for the existence that he bestows upon them, all dependent beings have no existence at all. And even after having been brought into existence, they are nothing relative to him, for since they have no existence of their own, whatever existence they have is not theirs but his. It would therefore be improper to serve anything other than this singular, pre-existent, intrinsic, essential, and unlimited being. If one were to serve anything but him, he would be serving a created, limited entity that does not exist intrinsically, and whose existence is and must be imposed upon it by the singular, unlimited being.